I'm going to show you how to make a frequency table and histogram in Excel, and this is a super common data analysis technique, and we can use it for both discrete and continuous data. I am looking at the stock market returns, S&P 500, for the past 100 years, and that data can be considered continuous. Okay, so there's a few steps to get started. We're going to need to know sort of how wide the data is, right? So a range, we need to know the lower limit, and then there's just a slight variation in the way you handle, or it looks slightly different when you're talking about continuous versus discrete data. So I'll just sort of quickly talk about that, but I am going to be assuming a continuous data, but assume that this data was discrete, and so the values didn't have decimals on them, and they ranged something like 1 to 50, and I decided that I was going to organize them in bins with a width of 5, right? So the first one would start at 1 and it would end at 5. All right, and that looks a little weird because it's like, well, the difference between 1 and 5 is 4, but it's discrete data, so there are values of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? So that's the width, and then, right, the next one starts at 6 and would continue to 10. Right, so the big thing is don't make the bins too wide and don't let them overlap so that data cannot be misclassified in two different categories. Okay, I just put some labels here so we know what our final table is going to look like. We have a lower class limit, we have an upper class limit, we have a frequency, we have a relative frequency, and then we will have a cumulative frequency. All right, so two ways we can use this. We can use it as a table, right? Get some information out of that, or we could use some of the values here and graph that, and we'll do both. All right, so I mentioned we should probably know the range, and we want to know the range so we can figure out how to separate this into bins. And you know, this is a summary tool, so what we're doing is we're trying to take all this data, which is hard to kind of consume in this form, and we're going to summarize it. And when we summarize it with something like a histogram, each one of those bars in the histogram should represent things of the same width, obviously, and then, well, they should also contain observations that are similar. So one of the big first considerations is, well, you know, if we're talking about returns, how much percentage points should be in each bin, right? Is it 5%? Is it 10%? All right, does the stock market return between 5 and 10%? Is that about the same as, say, a stock market return between 5 and 7%, right? So we have to sort of make a determination there. And there's a couple of formulas that people use to determine how many bins they should organize their data into. One's called the Sturges, right? And it seems really, I could spell it right. It seems really mathematical, and it's like, wow, that's a good idea. Let's use that. And it says, well, you should have this many bins, 1 plus 3.3 times, right, the log of the number of observation. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and calculate that. And so this says, and I have to round up here, so I'd end up with 8 bins here. And then let's just look at the range here. And so I'll get the minimum and the maximum. Okay, so then the difference between them, right? And then if I use 8 bins, each one of them is going to be 12% wide. All right, so it's a little kind of weird, right? So would I make a graph and show bins that are 12% wide? I mean, that's not super intuitive, right? A 5% width or a 10% width, that sounds good. All right, the other formula that people use a lot is this sort of kind of a shortcut where I just take 2, raise it to the k, where that result is greater than the n, right? So if I take 2, right, to the 6th, 64, not greater than 100, but 2 to the 7th, Well, that's greater than 100. So this says, well, let's make it have 7 bins. And again, if I do the math here, we're going to end up with, right, about 14% wide, right? So I'll probably have to round this up and say it's 14% wide. Again, not super intuitive, right? But yes, these are the formulas and the methods you typically find in statistics texts. But the truth is, this is a little bit art and science. So bin width has to be always equal so that each bar is representing the same thing. And then it should be kind of intuitive as long as it summarizes the data, okay? So why not use something like 10% wide, right? Or 5% wide. I'm going to use 10. And so I'm going to end up with more bins than either one of those methods suggests. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and do a calculation here. All right, so I'm going to start my first lower class limit. All right, and I'm going to start somewhere around the min. Let's look at that first. And it was negative 43, something like that, 43.34. All right, and I actually want to go down a bit farther than that because I don't want to go from, say, 43.34 to 53.34, right? Again, that intuitive thing. The person who's consuming this needs to be able to get something out of it. All right, so I'm going to wrap this in another formula, and I'm going to go down kind of far. All right, so I'm going to call it round up, and then rather than telling it how many digits, like, 1 or 2 or something like that, I'm going to use a negative number here, and it's going to round down to the nearest 10. All right, so minus 50, and then, yeah, I want to go up to anything below 41. Right, so I'm going to go 10 wide. Okay, and then I'm just going to add 10. All right, I'll do the same, and then we'll copy it down, and we'll go 10 bins and see where that gets us. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so up to 49%. All right, so you just want to make sure we're including everything, right? Double check. We'll get the max here. Make sure there was not a higher return. There was, so I'm going to have to go up one more bin. Okay, so our statistical method suggested 7 or 8 bins, and we're going to do 11. All right, so the lower class limit doesn't really matter, right? And then, I said it was continuous, but it looks like, there's a whole percent between these two things. Okay, so this is just sort of for our reference, and we'll use it later to make a x-axis label, all right, in the chart. All right, but I'm going to use the frequency function, and the frequency function is just going to look at the upper class limit here. All right, so anything up to negative 41% is going in this first bin. Anything slightly higher and all the way up to negative 31% is going in this second bin, and so forth. Okay, so frequency function is an array function, so it's a little tricky. I'm going to select all that range there. All right, and the procedure is a little bit different. We don't just hit enter at the end. So I'm going to first type in frequency. There it is. It wants the data array. All right, and it wants the bins array. And again, like I said, we're just giving it the upper class limits here. Okay, we're going to close. I'm going to hold the control and shift down, and I'm going to press enter. So we get our frequencies, and you can see if you look up here in the formula bar that, that formula looks a little weird, right? That's an array function. It means it's basically treated all as if it were one cell. Let's add this up. So I'll use alt plus there to get the auto sum. That's the count. And then we can start getting our relative frequencies, right? So first frequency over the count, and I'll absolute reference that, F4, and then, right, we'll copy that down. All right, so 1% of the observations, right, 2% of the observations, and so forth, right? So we can see the meat is happening in here, okay? And then, yep, a cumulative frequency. Okay, so a couple of ways to do our cumulative frequency. I'm going to first select the relative frequency. I'm going to click on the quick analysis. I'm going to select totals, kind of scroll to the right here and get running total. Okay, so probably that's the quick and dirty for doing it. Really what it's doing, if you look in the formula, is it's just sort of anchoring, right, absolute reference on that first row. And then as I copy down, right, the formula kind of expands. So any way you want to do it. All right, so with all that done, we can go ahead and graph this. And, probably I would graph the frequencies versus the cumulative distribution, right? So I select that. I'm going to hold Control and then click to select two non-continuous columns. We'll go Insert, and then, right, maybe recommended charts will help us. And then, oh, look at that one. That's what I want. Cumulative frequency or the frequency density and the histogram. So let's drop that in there. All right, and then I can write S&P 500 historical returns. Okay, and then we'll fix this up a little bit. I mentioned that I was going to do something about the x-axis. All right, and I will. Okay, I don't think the legend is going to be helping us too much, so I'm going to get rid of that. It's continuous data, so obviously it's sort of very distorted to present it this way. So let me go in there and fix that. And then I'm just going to change the gap width here. I'm not going to make it 0 because that is a little ugly in my opinion. I'll see what 5% looks like. So we see just a little bit of daylight in between the bars. All right, and then the cumulative frequency here is sort of, it's a little chunky. And so, maybe I should format that data series as well. See if I can do anything about that. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and get the smooth line. That'll probably look a little better. All right, so that's what the smooth line looks like. And then, yeah, maybe we don't really want to go up to 120%, right? We probably want to shrink this down, so we could try to fix this axis, right? And then, don't let it go above. All right, so let's fix the last thing we'll do is we'll fix the labels here on the x-axis. And I'm just going to kind of build that component. Right, so I'm going to start here, put an ampersand, I'm going to put the word 2, right, some spaces in there, another ampersand, and, okay, so -50 to -41, and copy that down. Okay, and then right in the middle of the chart here, I'll click and select data, and then we'll edit the x-axis there, and then I'll just kind of point, click, and drag for my built labels. Okay, make the chart just a little bit wider to probably accommodate that. Put a couple formulas up there so you can see them. Some of these are pretty straightforward, all right, but I'll put them up there anyway. And then this is how I did the axis label. Okay, so there's your frequency table and histogram, and we can see that those returns are pretty decidedly left skewed, right? So we have these extreme down years that are really influencing the shape, right? But for the most part, everything is happening over here between, say, 0 and 40%. Okay, so I hope that helps.